This is the 4th annual Yo-Yo Buyer's Guide for YoYoTricks.com. We have a separate buyer's guide for 2A through 5A style yo-yoing, which are the more unconventional styles of yo-yo play. This buyer's guide is going to cover more traditional or 1A style yo-yos designed for players who use one yo-yo attached to one hand. When there is a new buyer's guide to replace this one, we will have a link right here on YouTube, and we will also put a link below the video on our website in the video transcript and below the video in our app for Apple or Android devices. And anytime we mention a product, we will have links below the video in the description or the video transcript as well. Now, in order to more thoroughly answer this question, what is the best yo-yo, we've broken up this guide into 2 parts. In the first part, I'll walk you through a few of the things that you should know before buying a yo-yo. Specifically, I'm going to discuss the different types of yo-yos that are currently available, which will give you a better context to appreciate which specific yo-yos you should be considering, as well as why we recommend certain yo-yos over others. After that, I'll briefly move on to those couple of items you're going to want to consider getting, like replacement yo-yo string, to keep your yo-yos playing as good as the day you got them. In the second part of the video, we will be making specific yo-yo recommendations for you based on the categories we discussed in the first part of the video. Now, if you're the type of person who is just thinking, Adam, I don't want to watch this video. I just want you to tell me what to get so I can just get started. Hey, no problem. If that's where you are, we recommend getting the First 50 Yo-Yo Tricks pack. This pack includes our top recommended starter yo-yo, a bearing to upgrade it for advanced play, and everything you need for basic yo-yo maintenance, as well as 2 of the yo-yos we recommend for getting into 2A or two-handed style play. This pack is designed specifically to go along with our First 50 Yo-Yo Tricks list, which includes the first 50 tricks we recommend you learn if you want to become an excellent player. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. Since this is a buyer's guide, I hope I'm not overreaching to assume that you're here because you would like to buy a yo-yo. Also, you would be correct in assuming that the yo-yos we're going to recommend are available in our store. Now, as a store, we can pretty much carry any yo-yo we want, but compared to other yo-yo stores, we carry a very limited selection of all the yo-yo models that are released every year. We only carry the yo-yos that we consider the best of the best, and the yo-yos we discuss in this guide are our top picks from among those. Since this is an annual buyer's guide, one further limitation we do place on ourselves is that we do not recommend any yo-yos in this guide that are part of a limited run. That's because we want yo-yos that will be available for a full year, until our next buyer's guide comes out. So that way, hopefully you won't run into this issue where you see the guide, there's a yo-yo you want to buy, but it can't be found anywhere because it's no longer being made. Of course, we do offer some short-run products in our store from time to time when we find yo-yos that we love enough to carry. So it's a good idea to check back in the store every now and then just to see what's new. Now, when we are talking about what is the best yo-yo, obviously we can only give our own opinions. But one thing to consider is that the best yo-yo for a player at this level will not be the same as the best yo-yo for a player at this level. So in seeking to find the right yo-yo for you, it's critical to know a little bit about yourself and a little about yo-yo design so you can find the perfect fit. So in this guide, we have broken the categories up into 3 types of players or types of yo-yos. We call those beginners, starters, and then advanced, and the advanced category covers everything else that the first 2 don't. Now the first thing you might notice is that beginners and starters sound like they could be the same person. We did that because most players who are new to yo-yoing will be fine getting either a beginner or a starter yo-yo. The difference is that beginner yo-yos are designed to be particularly easy to use when learning the most basic tricks, but the trade-off is that they're a little bit more limited in terms of learning difficult tricks. So if you're new to yo-yoing, or if you're getting a yo-yo for someone else and you feel that you or they are confident enough learning the basic throw, catch, and wind-up techniques, we suggest you jump right to the starter category. Otherwise, a beginner yo-yo is recommended for you. Now, outside the first 2 categories, all the other yo-yos we will mention in this guide are advanced, or in yo-yoer terms, unresponsive. This means that the yo-yos will not come back up when you pull on them. And this offers a huge advantage when learning the most advanced tricks, but it also poses a significant hurdle if you have never yo-yoed before. To get these yo-yos back, you must perform a bind, which involves getting a spinning yo-yo onto the string and then performing a specific technique, which we do teach in our videos. To make this transition to advanced play easier, one thing I haven't mentioned yet about all of our starter yo-yos is that they can be upgraded from traditional to advanced play. And this offers what we feel is the optimal way to ensure that you will have success when first learning to yo-yo by making the yo-yo easy to use at first because it will come back up when you pull on it. And then when you feel ready, you can upgrade the yo-yo so that it will play unresponsive and you can learn the most advanced tricks. Now, once you start getting into the more advanced yo-yos, one thing to know is that they all perform relatively similar in terms of overall performance when you're thinking about things like sleep time. So when we talk about these yo-yos, we will be emphasizing those things that set them apart from each other and will make them a desirable part of your collection. Now, learning how yo-yos are unique is important when getting into advanced play because yo-yos with different characteristics will be a little better or worse for learning different tricks and skills. So if you want to have a very dynamic style, we do recommend you consider getting yo-yos that are very distinctive from each other, since one yo-yo will make one skill a little bit easier to learn and a different yo-yo will make a different skill easier to learn, and so on. In this way, when it comes to advanced yo-yos, we do our best in our store to carry yo-yos that are all quite distinctive from one another to help you down this path as well. Over the last few years, we have been working to perfect and make available at least one yo-yo under our own brand for every category we discuss in these guides. We did this not only to ensure that the yo-yos will continue to be available, since we control production, but so that we knew we could recommend yo-yos that work precisely the way we feel they should for helping you progress as you learn tricks, which of course is what yoyotricks.com is all about. In this process, there have been yo-yos that took years to perfect, some we have updated to continue to improve upon them, and some yo-yos we never released at all because they weren't yo-yos that we felt we could recommend as our first choice in the categories they represent. All that's to say that all of our own yo-yos that we discuss in these guides we feel are exemplars of the best that are available within each of their own categories. And besides our own models, we will be recommending at least one other yo-yo in every category. These yo-yos will always be quite different from our own, and in that way, they will be a good complement if you decided that you wanted to get more than one yo-yo in any given category. In terms of maintenance, when you get your first yo-yo, there are some items that will help to keep your yo-yo working properly. One thing you might not expect is yo-yo lube. Since the yo-yos we're recommending have ball bearings, applying the right kind of lube in the right way will keep everything playing smooth. Now, we offer both thick and thin yo-yo lube, and we also have videos that explain how and when to apply each kind of lube to your bearings with a lot of useful tips like how it's better to remove your yo-yo bearing first before lubricating it, or that over-lubing your bearing can actually make it play worse. You really only need a tiny, tiny amount of lube to keep your bearing working properly. So it's just best to check out these videos before lubing the bearings on your yo-yo. Now, because of the specific and unique needs of yo-yo bearings, it's best to avoid lubes like WD-40, Vaseline, sewing machine oil, trumpet oil, mineral oil, baby oil. Some of these might actually damage your yo-yo, but they will keep your bearings from working properly. So far, we have not found any lube alternatives that are as safe or as effective as the lube we carry, and one bottle could easily last a lifetime, so it's a good idea to pick some up. Now, as I mentioned earlier, yo-yos do have string, and since strings can wear out, we do recommend that you pick up some of those from our store as well. And finally, most of the yo-yos in this video also have these little rubber O-rings on the inside called response pads. These are what allow the yo-yo to come back up when you pull it up or when you perform a bind. And these can wear out in as little as 4 to 6 weeks if you're playing with your yo-yo quite a bit, so you may also want to consider getting a replacement set of those as well. To make things easier, on every product page on our site, we do have our recommendations section so that you know what kind of lube, response pads, and strings you need for each yo-yo. In addition, every yo-yo is available in a pack that includes the right kind of lube and strings. And you can also add on the right kind of response pads to any of the packs as well. All right, on to the yo-yos. Now, the first category of yo-yo we're going to talk about are beginner yo-yos, which of course are yo-yos for people who have never ever yo-yoed before. And the first beginner yo-yo we want to talk about is the Fizz. And when we started thinking about what would make the perfect beginner yo-yo, obviously we wanted a yo-yo that would be really, really easy to use, but also played well enough that you can learn all the basic tricks. But one thing that we put a lot of time into with this yo-yo is we wanted a yo-yo that kind of simplified the whole experience of getting into yo-yo, and particularly what we were thinking about was maintenance. And so I'm going to take this yo-yo apart and show you some things that make it really nice as a first yo-yo, because there's a few less things to think about, again, in terms of maintenance with this particular model. And when you're first learning tricks, it's kind of takes a little bit of effort to learn the tricks at first, and if at the same time you have to learn, how to do all the different lubing the yo-yo or getting the response pads out at the right time, it's almost like you're learning twice as much. And so this yo-yo allows you to focus on the tricks, and then you can move on to maintenance when you go up to your next yo-yo. So the first thing that you'll notice about this particular model is that there's no response pads. And so again, that's just one thing that you don't have to change with this yo-yo. Instead, there's these little flexible teeth that kind of push into the yo-yo a little bit. And what that does is it allows the yo-yo to play really easy and really responsive, but when you get the yo-yo on the string, it makes it so that those teeth kind of push out of the way and it plays on the string just fine, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, since it plays really easy and responsive because of the teeth, that also means that you don't need to use thick yo-yo lube on the bearing in order to get the yo-yo to play as responsive as you want. And a lot of yo-yos that have bearings that are responsive, you need to lube them every now and then with thick yo-yo lube to get them to work right. So that's another thing that makes this a little bit easier. Now, one more thing that we did with this particular yo-yo is we did put a little bit of thin yo-yo lube in the bearing already. And so what that means is that the bearing is going to last a little bit longer before it needs any maintenance. And in fact, what we found is the thin lube lasts so long that you'll probably have learned enough tricks that you're going to be ready to upgrade before you ever need to lube this bearing again. Now, you may end up wanting to give this to a little brother or little sister or a friend when you're done with it, which we think is great. So in that case, we would recommend eventually lubing the bearing with thin yo-yo lube, but we would say in the normal course of everyday use, you probably won't need to do that. And so now the one thing that you will need to think about with this yo-yo and maintenance is that just like any yo-yo, you will need to replace the string when it wears out. So actually, let me show you something about that real quick when I put the yo-yo back together. A lot of times with your first yo-yo, you'd think it's going to be easier to put the string onto the yo-yo when it's taken apart, but the string can actually fall in between the bearing and the yo-yo if you do that, and that can cut the string. So we do always recommend that you put the yo-yo together first and then put the string on. We have a whole video that shows you how to do that if you're just getting into yo-yoing. That'll make sure that your string doesn't break prematurely. So let's talk about how this yo-yo plays. As we mentioned, the yo-yo plays really easy and really responsive, and so it's a good first yo-yo because it comes back up right away when you pull on it. Even if it's not spinning super fast, it does sleep long enough for you to start learning all of your basic tricks. And as we talked about, because those teeth get pushed into the yo-yo, it plays really great on the string too, so you can learn all of your basic string tricks. Now, one further thing that we just love about the shape of this yo-yo is if you look at it, you can see it kind of flares out, which is good for landing the yo-yo on the string, but it's not as wide as a lot of yo-yos that are designed just for 1A style tricks. It's more narrow, kind of like a 2A yo-yo. And what's cool about that is you can actually start to learn all of your looping tricks on this yo-yo as well. And so if you're thinking about going through the first 50 yo-yo tricks list, this is one of the few yo-yos on the market that can get you into your basic 1A and your basic 2A tricks, which is awesome for a beginner yo-yo. Now, again, it's not going to play as good for 2A as a yo-yo that's dedicated for 2A style yo-yoing. It's not going to play as good for 1A as a yo-yo that's dedicated for that style. But for a beginner yo-yo that's easy to use, it is really well-rounded and can get you pretty far into that trick list before you're going to want to upgrade. So we would recommend that you consider getting the Fizz Yo-Yo pack because that does come with the extra strings that you're going to need. And if you want to know more about the Fizz Yo-Yo, we do have a full review and unboxing video that you can check out. The second beginner yo-yo that we want to talk about, we're really excited about because it has a very novel approach on how to make yo-yoing easier, and that is the Hub Stack by Yo-Yo Factory. And this yo-yo is named after its most distinctive feature, which are these hub stacks, which are in the side of the yo-yo. And what these are, they just put an extra bearing on each side of the yo-yo and put a little cap on that bearing so that these can spin independent of the yo-yo so that you can actually hold on to the yo-yo while it's spinning. And while this does open up a distinctive set of tricks that you can do, one of the things that is most impressive about this is it makes yo-yoing super, super easy to learn at first because you can actually get the yo-yo spinning without first learning to throw the yo-yo. Now, if you're an adult or if you've already learned how to yo-yo, you might think, well, that's weird. Why would I care about that? But actually, if you've ever worked with little kids learning how to yo-yo, this can be a huge advantage. Because getting that first throw, getting it to be straight enough and powerful enough to get enough spin to actually be able to learn tricks can be really, really tough. And that can make it so that you don't really get to the more exciting parts of yo-yoing, like learning the tricks, before you give up out of frustration. So this allows you to just get right through that. You get the yo-yo spinning, you can get the satisfaction of learning a trick or two, and then once you see how fun yo-yoing can be, then you can learn the throw after that. The other thing that's really neat about this yo-yo is that it kind of crosses the line between starter yo-yos and beginner yo-yos, because even though it's got features of a beginner yo-yo, if you get our pack, you can actually upgrade it. You can put in a new bearing and new response pads, and it will play unresponsive, which means you can get into the more advanced tricks. And so we like to think about this yo-yo almost like it's the family yo-yo. You can get it for anybody, really, but if you've got younger brothers or sisters in the family and they're looking at their older brothers and sisters just learning all these tricks and they think it's so fun, this one will give them a chance to try it out and learn some of those basic tricks for themselves without feeling like they're being excluded. But if you want to get into more and more advanced tricks, you can always get the pack and upgrade the yo-yo for unresponsive play and learn all those more advanced tricks with it as well. And so in a lot of different ways, this has a really unique design, but it offers a lot of the best features that come in a beginner yo-yo, if those are things that you're looking for. The second category of yo-yos that we want to talk about are starter yo-yos. And again, these are yo-yos for new players that can also be upgraded to play advanced or unresponsive. And in this category, the yo-yo that we always like to recommend first is the Sage yo-yo. And there's a lot of reasons why we feel like this is a good first option for most players. The first thing is the shape. You can see if you were to compare it to our beginner yo-yos, it's extra wide, and that makes it a lot easier to get the yo-yo to land onto the string, which is the types of tricks you're going to want to be learning with this particular yo-yo, 1A style tricks. But this shape actually is the same, the profile shape is the same as the yo-yo that was used to win the 2010 World Yo-Yo Contest. So it's really an advanced shape that we've adapted into a starter yo-yo. So the cool thing about this shape is you can see at any point if the string were to hit any part of this yo-yo right in here, it's going to force the string into the gap of the yo-yo. And that makes it a lot easier to learn your basic string tricks because it's a lot easier to land the yo-yo on the string. Now, if you also look at the profile, what you'll see is that the profile dips all the way down into the center of the yo-yo and almost goes down as far as the bearing. What that does for you is when the yo-yo is on the string, you can actually move the string off to the side a little bit before the yo-yo starts to tilt and lean on you, which can happen if you go a little bit too far. And again, that just makes all of these tricks a little bit easier to learn. And even though the yo-yo is responsive, you can get these tricks to work really well on a first yo-yo like the Sage. Now, the other thing that keeps us coming back to this particular model is that it's super, super durable, which is what you really want if it's your first yo-yo, because you might be hitting the yo-yo on the ground a lot, or there's a lot of different ways that yo-yos can get damaged when you're a new player, and this yo-yo can really take it. Now, the only problem that we've really seen players have, and this is pretty rare, is if you tighten the yo-yo too much, and I mean way, way too far, then the axle on the inside can actually snap. Now, the nice thing about the Sage is that the axle that's on the inside of the yo-yo is a standard size and it's replaceable. And so if that happens to you, then what we would recommend is you can just go down to any hardware store, show them the axle that's in the yo-yo, and they can give you another one. And all you need to do to get these out is you can just push the axle right through the halves of the yo-yo. It'll pop the caps off. You can put in a new axle and you're going to be good to go. Now, with any yo-yo, over tightening it even a little bit can actually damage the yo-yo. So it's a good idea to get used to just tightening up the yo-yo until it's snug, and then you're going to be ready to go. Now, the other thing that we absolutely love about the Sage is that it is upgradable, and it's really simple with the Sage compared to some yo-yos. You don't have to change out the response pads or do anything. All you're going to do is swap out the bearing, and that's going to allow the yo-yo to play unresponsive, which is cool because you can go between responsive and unresponsive play with this yo-yo. And the bearing is really easy to swap out, and once you've done that, you're ready for more advanced tricks. So once you have your Sage set up for unresponsive play, you can, of course, do tricks that involve a little bit more slack, which means you can do some more advanced tricks. That also allows you to do tricks with a lot more strings loaded into the gap of the yo-yo, and it just allows you to push your skills quite a bit further. Now in terms of sleep time, the Sage, the way it comes playing responsive, it'll sleep probably 40 seconds to about a minute with a straight and powerful throw, but once you've upgraded the bearing for unresponsive play, it'll sleep 3 to 4 times that length, which of course just opens up a whole new set of tricks for you to learn. Now, when we're talking about the Sage, we have 2 different packs that we recommend. We have the Sage Yo-Yo Starter Pack, which emphasizes more of the beginner side of this yo-yo, so it comes with thick yo-yo lube to keep the yo-yo playing as responsive as you'd like. It also comes with finger wrap, which will help keep your finger from hurting if you're a new player. And then we also have the Sage Yo-Yo Pro Pack, which emphasizes the more advanced side of this yo-yo. It comes with the upgraded bearing, as well as thin yo-yo lube to keep that bearing working properly. Now, if you want to get the best of both worlds, we'd probably recommend you get the Sage Yo-Yo Pro Pack and then also get a bottle of thick yo-yo lube. And that way you can use the thick lube on the bearing that comes in the yo-yo, you can use the thin lube on the upgraded bearing. That way you can kind of switch back and forth and get as much as possible out of this yo-yo. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the Sage, we do have a review of the Sage that you can check out. We get into the history of where the Sage came from a little bit and go into a lot more detail about the design than we do here, so you will definitely want to check that out. Normally at this part in the video, when we're talking about another responsive yo-yo to go alongside the Sage, we talk about the DV888 yo-yo. And the reason we recommend this yo-yo is there's a lot of players who really want a responsive yo-yo that can be upgraded to play unresponsive, but they really want it to be made out of metal because that just makes it a little bit more special. And so if that's what you're looking for, the DV888 is definitely the yo-yo that you want to go with. It does play nice and easily responsive, and then we also sell a pack that includes all the right pieces for you to upgrade this model to play unresponsive, and it plays great that way as well. It does have these nice flat rims, which give you a lot of surface area when it's running into your hand when you catch it. It makes it quite a bit more comfortable than other metal responsive yo-yos that might be out there, which is just one of the many reasons why we really like this. We have talked about this yo-yo a lot in previous buyer's guides, and so we wanted to feature another yo-yo that our customers have been asking a lot about, and that is this yo-yo, the Velocity. And the Velocity has a really unique approach to dealing with the responsive, unresponsive issue in starter yo-yos. And with this one, what's cool about it is you do not have to take the yo-yo apart to get it to play unresponsive. It actually has these little dials right here, and you can just adjust the dials to set how responsive or unresponsive you want it to be. So the yo-yo, the way that it comes, it plays nice and responsive. You can get it on the string and do some basic string tricks. And then when you're ready to move up to unresponsive play, all you do is you turn these dials in the center of the yo-yo out, and you do that on either side. And what that does is it pulls the response pads out, which in effect makes the gap of the yo-yo wider. And when you do that, that allows the yo-yo to play unresponsive. And so now you can get into all the different unresponsive tricks that you could do, and that just opens up a whole new world of play. Now, the one thing to note about this yo-yo compared to something like the Sage is it does have a smaller, almost an old school rounded shape, and the bearing in it is quite a bit smaller as well. So that means that it's not going to sleep quite as long as other starter yo-yos that we carry, and it's not going to be quite as advanced when you get into the more advanced tricks, but you really can't beat how convenient it is to be able to switch between responsive and unresponsive play. And so for a lot of players, this is the starter yo-yo that they absolutely love. And so if you're interested in learning more about this yo-yo, we also have a review that, again, goes into more detail, so you can always check that out. The next category that we're going to talk about are budget metal yo-yos, which are yo-yos that are metal and retail for under $60. And all the rest of the yo-yos that we're going to talk about in this guide are advanced or unresponsive. Now, when we were thinking about this category and trying to decide what to recommend, we noticed, I guess you could kind of say it's a problem, but it's the best kind of problem. If you look at our previous buyer's guides, there were 2 yo-yos in particular that we recommended more than once. That is the Shutter yo-yo and the Horizon. And the thing about these yo-yos is that they are still really relevant, and they still get players really excited. In fact, teams have grown up around these yo-yos, and those teams are still really active and are really competitive in the yo-yo competition scene. They're still developing all kinds of new and exciting tricks. And Gentry Stein with the Shutter is still continuing to win contests, and Paul Kerbel is still pushing trick innovation just through the roof with the Horizon. And so we found that we still kind of wanted to recommend these yo-yos because even though a lot of other companies have tried to emulate these, they don't seem to have captured what's so special about these yo-yos. But then we also wanted to be able to bring some new yo-yos to your attention in this category. So what we decided to do was to create a new section on our website for these two yo-yos in particular. And so we just call them legendary yo-yos. And if you go to this page, you'll see the Shutter, you'll see the Horizon, and then also in the high-end metal category, we also have the Atlas, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. And for all three of these yo-yos, we have filmed tutorials with the players whose name is on the yo-yos, so you can get a really good feel of what these yo-yos are capable of. And they've really just established themselves in the yo-yo community as yo-yos that they're just going to get you where you want to go. And so we definitely recommend you check that page out. But besides those, when we're thinking about our absolute favorite budget metal yo-yos, the first one that we do want to bring to your attention is the Canon Yoyo. Now, when we released the Canon, our hope was that players would use the Canon not only to push their 1A skills to the next level, but also to experiment with 3A and 5A style yo-yoing, which is why we did include the ultraweight counterweight with the Canon. And over the course of the last year, we've been really pleased to be able to do tutorials with the Canon in 5A and in 3A. And Connolly got her own edition of the Canon, and she came and did some 1A tutorials. And we've even been using the Canon to do our bind series of tutorials. And that's the thing about the Canon, is that it really does excel at a wide range of styles. And it's particularly nice to get used to a yo-yo in one style, in 1A, for example, and then to use that same yo-yo to transition into something else because you're already familiar with how it moves and the way that it plays. And the Canon is really a nice all-around yo-yo. It's got a nice V shape to it, which gives it a little bit more speed than yo-yos of different shapes, but it also has this little bit of extra rim weight, so it's got enough power for you to power through your tricks, especially when you're learning in the more difficult styles. And so in all of those different ways, we feel like, you know, when you're getting your first budget metal yo-yo, this is you almost saying to yourself, yeah, I'm committed to this, I want to get into this, I want to take it to the next level. And our hope with the Canon was that it would just throw open all the doors, not just to 1A, but to all the different styles as well. And so we're really excited about this yo-yo, and so far people have really loved it and have used it to take that next step. The next yo-yo that we're really excited to tell you about is the Yoyo Hydra. And one of the reasons we're so excited about this yo-yo is because with most yo-yos, they're most popular when they're brand new and there's all this hype around them and people get excited about it, and then the popularity goes down over time. But there are a select few yo-yos that popularity actually increases over time. And what that says to us is that when people get this yo-yo, they really love it. And we think there's a lot of great reasons why people love this yo-yo. The first and most obvious is that the colors that they have on this yo-yo are always really, really well done. And if you look at the different colors that the Hydra comes in, they're always coming out with new ones, and they're all really exciting and really complex. And for a yo-yo at this price point, it's just something that you don't see very often. Now, the other thing that we think makes this yo-yo really exciting is that the shape that it comes in, which is more of an H shape, it's actually not as popular today as it used to be. And we think that not only does that make this yo-yo stand out a little bit, but we feel like iYoyo found a good way to deal with some of the problems that this shape has. And the main problem is that when you hold an H-shaped yo-yo, it's not always really comfortable. They're usually really angular and kind of awkward. What they did with this is they made the rims on the yo-yo especially wide, and they really curved them down with a gentle slope. And what that does is it makes it actually really comfortable to hold and to play with, but it retains all the benefits that you get out of an H-shaped design. And so the biggest benefit is you can see that really quickly all the weight on the yo-yo is pushed out. And then the rims are really thick, and so just as much weight as possible is moved away from the center of the yo-yo. It's even dug out in the center here, and it's just sitting right here on the rim. And that gives it really powerful spins, which means that it's gonna, if you're having problems in the middle of your tricks, it's gonna continue to spin really strong. And it'll also give it really long spin times. And being an H-shaped yo-yo, it's particularly good for certain types of grinds, and that extra bit of power just extends the life of your grinds for a long time so you can pull them off with style. When we get into high-end metal yo-yos, we feel like this year the category kind of matured into what we were always hoping it would be, and we're kind of looking forward to see what else is going to happen in this category this year. But what you're really going to find in high-end metal yo-yos, as we've discussed before, it's not that you're going to see a huge bump in performance. What you're going to get out of these yo-yos is something that just couldn't happen in the budget metal price point. So for example, the Atlas yo-yo that we carry, it's quite a bit wider than other yo-yos in our market, and that gives it a lot of advantages that you can't get otherwise. As you may know, Jake Elliott used the Atlas to win the World Yo-Yo Contest in the 5A division, but we've also been using it to teach our horizontal yo-yo tutorials because that extra wide shape makes it really good for horizontal style play. And we even made a whole video about how to choose a yo-yo for horizontal style play and talked about all the ins and outs of what makes a yo-yo good for that style. So if you're interested in that, you should check that out. We also have a whole review about the Atlas where we go into more detail about why it plays the way it plays and also some of the history behind it. So if you want to learn more about the Atlas, you can always check that out as well. We also use the Atlas to teach our fingerspin tutorial video. And again, the width kind of helps it excel at that trick as well. And so, and we feel like this is kind of emblematic of what you're going to find in the high-end metal series, just things that are difficult to find outside of that category. Another thing that's really interesting and kind of exciting that's going on in the high-end metal line of yo-yos is a lot of companies are now experimenting with 7068 aluminum. And this is the strongest aluminum that we're aware of that yo-yos have ever been made out of. And what that does is it allows you to make yo-yos a little bit lighter but still have the same amount of rim weight because you can make the walls of the yo-yo thinner. And so recently Yo-Yo Factory has been creating a line of yo-yos that they call their Ultra line, and these are yo-yos that are made from this particular type of aluminum. They're even redoing some of their more popular models in the budget metal category. They're redoing them in the Ultra line. And they're pretty exciting, you know, to take a yo-yo you already love and to change it just a little bit so that it plays faster, might even be a little bit more powerful. And so far the yo-yos that they've done in this way have really been surprisingly good. So if you're a fan of one of those yo-yos that they are redoing, we highly recommend that you check out the Ultra version. Now another yo-yo in this category that we always talk about is our own civility yo-yo. And we use this yo-yo to teach a lot of our more advanced tricks. But lately, we've been using the civility to teach our combo building trick series. And this is a part of our competition training area on our website that we're currently building up. We did our brain twister combo series. We're doing a front style speed combo series currently, and we're going to be adding to that as well. And the whole point of these series is just to teach you how to make up your own tricks. And the civility is really good for that because it's got a really powerful spin. So you can kind of sit and meditate on your tricks a little bit while you work through them, and it's really good for learning tricks for the same reason. It also has a stainless steel nut so that you can take it apart and put it back together a lot more times than you can on other yo-yos without affecting how it plays. So again, it's just something that you don't find in other yo-yos. Now, among all the different yo-yos, there's one that is even the most distinctive out of all of these that we're really excited to talk about, and that is the 9 Dragons yo-yo. And this yo-yo has been on the market for a little while now, but we feel like Yo-Yo Factory has continued to improve this model, and now it's ready for us to be really excited about it. Now, what the 9 Dragons is it's almost like the opposite of hub stacks. Instead of being able to grab the side of the yo-yo, what you can do with the 9 Dragons is you can grab the outer shell and you can pull start it and hold on to that while the yo-yo is spinning. And that just gives you all kinds of different possibilities. There's tricks that you can do with the 9 Dragons that would just be inconceivable with other yo-yos. But it's also really good for practicing. If you're having trouble with different types of whips, you can actually hold on to the yo-yo while it's spinning and practice those whip elements. And then because it's still spinning, you can drop the yo-yo and continue on with the trick as if you'd landed it properly. A lot of players have kind of cheated with the 9 Dragons to land their first finger spin, and it actually is really helpful to get the feel of how that works. You can even hold the 9 Dragons from the bottom and work on the bind for your finger spins, which might actually be the hardest part of that particular trick. And so in a lot of different ways, it's a good yo-yo for training on tricks, but also something that if you really give your creativity over to it, you can come up with some pretty interesting and innovative tricks that you can do with it. Now, one thing, if you've ever used one of these, you'll know this. The Nine Dragons can be pretty loud. And so if you're in a situation where volume is a consideration, you might want to avoid the Nine Dragons. But if not, it's definitely going to be a unique part of your collection and something that we think that you'll really have a lot of fun experimenting with. So the last category that we want to talk about are the bimetal yo-yos. And in this category, we're really excited because we have a brand new yo-yo to release that's called the Ethos. When we set out to make our own bimetal yo-yo, the main thing that we wanted to do was to make the best use of the advantages of bimetal design. And what we found with a lot of bimetal yo-yos is that even though they look really, really good, they don't always play all that different than just regular aluminum yo-yos because they're not putting enough weight into the stainless steel rings for you to really feel the difference. And so with this yo-yo, what we did is we started with a pretty normal size, I guess, with the yo-yo, and we shrunk the diameter down just a little bit. And you can imagine by shrinking the diameter, it shrinks the whole yo-yo down. And so what we did is we took all the weight that we saved from that and we put that into the rings of the yo-yo. And you can really feel the difference on this yo-yo. When you throw it, you get that experience of power that you're looking for out of a bimetal yo-yo, but because it's smaller, it's still really quick and nimble. And so we really like how that turned out with this particular model. Now, the other thing that you'll notice about this yo-yo is that the rims are really, really wide, and that was more of an aesthetic choice for us. We wanted this yo-yo to really stand out, and what you'll find is that as you're just out and about doing tricks, and particularly when you're doing horizontal, the contrast that you get between the rings in this yo-yo and the rest of the body is really striking, and it seems to just draw people's attention, and it just makes your tricks look a little bit better. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice about this is that we didn't put the rings all the way on the outer edge of the yo-yo. A lot of bimetal yo-yos, you'll see the rings are all the way on this outer edge right here or on the inside right here. And the problem with that is that that can interfere with some grind tricks. And so we wanted to make sure that even though these rims were really big, they weren't going to interfere with those tricks. So whether you're doing finger grinds or talon grinds or palm grinds or even finger spins, at no point do these rings interfere with your tricks. Now, one thing that you can't see about these rings that's really cool is that they're quite a bit thicker on the outer edge of the yo-yo than they are on the inner side of the profile. And again, that was just a choice to push as much weight as possible to the outer edge so that you get that feeling of bimetal that you're looking for. Now, thinking about the finger spin area, we used as our starting point actually the cup design of the Atlas. That's the yo-yo that we used when we taught finger spins in our tutorial. And we've always really liked that design, and it plays really well with this yo-yo. Right at the center of the yo-yo is a finger spin dimple. And if you can get your finger into that dimple, it'll allow the yo-yo to spin for a really, really long time. But almost more important than that is this outer ring right here. And what that's for is when you're doing more complicated finger spin tricks, especially with multiple hops and catches and things like that, you don't really want to concern yourself with always catching it right in the middle. And so this ring right here, it keeps your finger close to the center. It won't allow your finger to be pushed out all the way to the edge of the yo-yo, which is going to kill the spin. And if you ever do just want to settle the yo-yo, your finger will naturally be drawn into the very center of the yo-yo, so you can get those really long spins. And so we feel like we found a really good balance between a design that allows you to do really dynamic tricks, but can also have really long spin times. And so when you put this whole yo-yo together, what you'll find is that it's really, really good for the competitive yo-yo player. That power gives you all the advantages of long spin times so that you can make your tricks longer. Because it's small and nimble, it's going to be really good for your tech tricks and for your speed combos. And because it's got that striking design, it's going to draw everybody's eyes to you while you're on stage. And that's just what we really wanted. We wanted a yo-yo that was going to stand out and really help you achieve what you're looking to do with your yo-yo performances. And that's what the Ethos is all about. The last yo-yo that we want to talk about is the Edge, and we actually featured this in last year's buyer's guide, but at the time it was just a prototype, and we couldn't be happier with how the final version turned out. And kind of surprising to us, it actually had a slow start, but over the course of the last year, it has really picked up momentum. And in fact, in the 1A division in finals at EYYC, the European Yo-Yo contest, it was used by almost half of the competitors. And if you've ever seen Evan Nagao, whose Yo-Yo the Edge is, compete, I think you'll know why this has started to pick up steam. He just brings like an excitement and enthusiasm and charisma to his performances and his tricks that are rarely matched in the yo-yo world. And when you play with the Edge, you just kind of get that feeling. You just want to try yo-yoing that way. You know, it's got a little bit of extra width compared to most yo-yos. You know, it's not super wide like the Atlas, but it is wider than the vast majority of yo-yos on the market today, so that it encourages you to just be a little bit more risky, a little bit bigger with your tricks. And it is a bimetal, so it's got that power so you can take on longer combos and more challenging tricks and still achieve your goal with this yo-yo. And so we did bring Evan out to film tutorials with us, and of all the player tutorials that we filmed, his tricks are probably the most challenging, which is definitely a credit to him, but also to the Edge yo-yo. And so if you're interested in Evan, or if you want to try some of his tricks, or if you really just have kind of a big style that's really out there, the Edge is an excellent choice for you. So that's it for the 4th annual Yo-Yo Buyer's Guide. We hope that this was helpful, if not brief. And we're really excited for the yo-yos that are going to be coming out this year, so we can't wait until we see you next time.